All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin. The complete corruption in our government, in our financial system, is running rampant right now. What happened? Well, multiple congressmen, including the intelligence chair of the Senate, they have just been caught allegedly committing insider trading and dumping on the average people millions of dollars worth of stocks, multi-millions, right before the market started tanking, right before the average person had the knowledge and had a chance to. This just dropped late last night, new. After assuring the public about the government's pandemic preparedness, assuring the public, hey, the government's got everything under control, Senate Intelligence Chair Richard Burr, in one day, sold off up to $1.6 million in stock. 1 week later, the market began to fall. His committee was receiving daily updates. That happened 1 week before markets began to fall. 1 week. Among those congressmen who committed insider trading was Bitcoin's own, Bakkt's own former CEO of Bakkt, Senator Kelly Loeffler, dumped millions in stocks allegedly. And again, all this was after a specific meeting that took place about 1 week before markets started to drop. Right around here. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Austin, if these people have the knowledge that the markets might go in a certain direction, isn't it their prerogative to sell their own stock? I mean, it is theirs. And the answer would be no, because that's insider trading. And insider trading is illegal for a reason. These people, the congressmen, they were elected to serve the public. They're privy to insider knowledge, and they're allowed to do something with the public. Their job is to inform the public, but when they're caught selling against the public millions of dollars in stock in one day. Now, as of this morning, we have responses from both Richard Burr, both Kelly Loeffler. Before that, let me play you a 60-second response from Tucker Carlson, because both those senators, they're both Republican. But even Fox News is saying the right thing, sticking up for the little guy, speaking truth to power. Watch this.
So you may have seen the news reports this afternoon. The chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee sold more than $1 million in stock in mid-February after learning how devastating the Chinese virus could be. He had inside information about what could happen to our country, which is now happening, but he didn't warn the public. He didn't give a primetime address. He didn't go on television to sound the alarm. He didn't even disavow an op-ed he'd written just 10 days before claiming America was, quote, better prepared than ever for virus. He didn't do any of those things. Instead, what did he do? He dumped his shares in hotel stocks so he wouldn't lose money. And then he stayed silent. Now, maybe there's an honest explanation for what he did. If there is, he should share it with the rest of us immediately. Otherwise, he must resign from the Senate and face prosecution for insider trading. There is no greater moral crime than betraying your country in a time of crisis. And that appears to be what happened.
Okay. I like it. Now, it should be noted that Kelly Loeffler, she didn't sell millions of dollars worth of stocks in one day. She sold millions of dollars worth of stocks over a couple days, over a couple weeks. It was all before the market started severely tanking, though. Here are the details. The first transaction that Kelly made was a sale. So she sold her stock in the company Resideo Technologies, worth anywhere between, she made a sale of anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 to her. Now, since then, the company's stock price has fallen by more than half, fallen by more than 50% since then. And let me remind you, half is common in Bitcoin. If a stock falls by half in the traditional markets, that's outrageous. Luckily, Kelly had the inside information to sell right before then. And that was the first transaction, the first of 29 stock transactions that Loeffler and her husband made through mid-February, all but 2 of which were sales. And as a reminder, in mid-February, that's anywhere right around here is where Kelly sold off. I would be interested to hear your opinion, what you think down below in the comment section. Let's get the responses from Kelly. She wants to set the record straight. And the response from Richard Burr, who's the congressman who is also in charge of the Intelligence Committee. My statement in response to reports about recent financial disclosures. So according to him, this is why he sold. I relied solely on the public news reports to guide my decision, regarding the sale of stocks on February 13th. Specifically, I closely followed CNBC's daily health and science reporting out of its Asia bureaus at the time. So he says he only relied on public news. Now he goes on to say that he understands the assumptions many can make in hindsight. However, I spoke this morning with the chairman of the Senate Ethics Committee and asked him to open up a complete review of the matter with full transparency. You know, I like full transparency. I like that he's giving a public response. Digging deeper, a response from Kelly Loeffler, the former CEO of Bakkt. I want to set the record straight. This is a ridiculous and baseless attack. She is denying it. She says, I don't make investment decisions for my portfolio. Investment decisions are made by multiple third-party advisors without my husband's knowledge or involvement. So she says she didn't do it. First off, it's BS saying that, it was my financial advisor that made these decisions for me, that made these sales for me. That's obviously a cop-out. What I want to know is, did this financial advisor make sales like this for all his clients? Or was it just, coincidentally, Kelly Loeffler? The minute I get more information, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to keep you updated. But I guess just the silver lining in all this, at least you and me, we have a non-correlated, decentralized, peaceful way to opt out of these corrupt traditional systems. I like that. The next piece of news, the Central Bank of England has cancelled stress tests for UK's biggest lenders. And when they say cancelled stress test for their biggest lenders, they mean the banks. Let's check this out. The Bank of England is scrapping its annual stress test for the UK's largest lenders this year, saying bank resources should be aimed instead at supporting households and businesses during this pandemic outbreak. Now, the fear is, and why we need a stress test, especially in times of economic uncertainty, is if there is a run on the bank, if people want their money, they need cash now. Now, the worst case scenario would say, or just the safe scenario would say, don't hold more money in the banking system than you can afford to lose. Bank runs and property price collapse incoming. Now, I don't want to fearmonger. This is the worst case scenario, but it is scary to think about. If they're not doing stress tests, their annual stress test, then we don't know. We really wouldn't know if they were able to cover the people's money, your money, that's in your bank. This is the first time that the annual health check has been canceled since it began in 2014. And they only started having annual stress tests to prevent another 2008, to prevent another economic collapse. The test, which was developed after the 2008 financial crisis, determines whether the UK's biggest banks could keep lending during a recession. Now, the reason the government is saying, hey, don't worry about your stress test today, it's for a short-term good reason. Regulators are trying to ease the burden on the banks, which are being asked to package billions of pounds worth of low-cost loans to UK businesses and ease the debt burden for households by offering mortgage holidays and extending credit card limits. Now again, these are sort of the seeds that were planted, which is the reason we saw the 2008 financial crisis. But hey, nobody learned. The banks that no longer are doing their annual stress test yet, they may bring it back later in the year, the decision to cancel the annual stress tests affect major lenders, including the Royal Bank of Scotland, Barclays, HSBC, Lloyds, Standard Chartered, the UK arm of Santander, Nationwide, Building Society, and Virgin Money UK, which will no longer have to devote resources towards making sure they can pass their stress test. This is the financial world we're living in. And last piece of news, if you like Ethereum, you're going to like this. The baseline protocol, backed by Ernst & Young, Consensys, and Microsoft, is now live and open to public contributors. There was a few of you on our live stream that we did last night that asked, why don't you talk more about Ethereum? And hey, I would love to talk about Ethereum when they make news. And today, they made news. So the baseline protocol, backed by Ernst & Young, backed by Microsoft, is now live and open to public contributors. First off, what is the baseline protocol? The baseline protocol is an open-sourced initiative that combines advances in cryptography, messaging, and blockchain to execute secure and private business processes at low cost via the public Ethereum mainnet. So this is bullish for Ethereum in the fact that they didn't choose Cardano, they didn't choose EOS, they didn't choose Bitcoin. They chose to make a solution for businesses. Now, this protocol will enable confidential and complex collaborations between enterprises without leaving any sensitive data on chain. Because of course, an enterprise, a business, they don't want all of their information open to the public. I mean, they have clients they have to protect. And while there are many companies that are trying to build something like this, what I like about this, it's open public software, which is very transparent to the little guy like me. And another way to say it, Baseline Protocol is essentially a set of standards, codes, and protocol. It's not a product, it's not a dApp, it's not a token, but it's a code/protocol that essentially allows you to use Ethereum as a middleware between systems of record. So the news today is that the Baseline Protocol is now live, it's now open. If you're a developer, go check it out. The GitHub is right here. All right, that is the video for today. My name's Austin. Like always, I'll see you tomorrow.